How is everybody doing? Strength Chat episode 133, and today I have got a very special guest for you. Today I'm joined by US Army veteran and Chief Operating Officer of OPEX. Today I am joined by Carl Hardwick. How are you doing?
Pretty good, Stephen. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks a lot for taking the time, Carl, to jump on the podcast. First of all, how have you been? What have you been up to? What's been happening in your world the last couple of months?
Oh man, I think our world's been similar to everyone else's with COVID and shutdowns and pivoting and on our side it's just ensuring that we're helping our coaches and our gym owners around the world throughout this time. And we're not out of this thing yet, but we've navigated this thing fairly well, and we're happy with how our ecosystem and COVID and the challenges that come along with it.
And how has it been? Are you sort of back up and running, working, nearly back to normal at the minute, or are you still sort of easing back into things?
Man, it's really important for me to always walk the walk. So I haven't missed a day of training. I don't train these days to win anything. I don't train these days to necessarily get stronger or more fit or more aerobic. I just train because I love doing it, right? So, the past, let's call it 15 years, it's, 5 to 6 days a week, 60 to 90 minutes a day of just, my meditation or training and getting into the gym or getting out the back version of training is for that day. That's a non-negotiable for me. I don't miss it.
Yeah, I must admit, I think for everyone, whether they've got a limited equipment or quite a lot of my clients have got garage gyms, which has been, really beneficial. I think it's really shown throughout this that even doing something, because a lot of my clients compete in powerlifting, and obviously there's no powerlifting competitions on the horizon. So just for that, I can't think of the phrase, just sort of that making sure that your mind's nice and clear, and that you can train and have that time to yourself, and then get back to doing whatever they're doing. I think it's been really important. For everyone listening who might not know your background or how you became to get involved with OPEX and your background in coaching, just want to give a little bit of a background to yourself.
Yeah, definitely. When I do this, I always say I'll try to keep it within 60 seconds. I've done a lot of different things, and I've experienced a lot of different things in my 34 years on this earth. Had to think how old I was there for a second. But sport, that's how I was introduced to fitness. And where that came from, I was an 11 or 12-year-old kid that wanted to be better at baseball. I wanted to be better at football. And in my brain, I'm like, these guys muscle come from, right? So I went and bought an encyclopedia of bodybuilding, which I'm sure a lot of us have owned at some point in our lives, and I started designing training programs at the age of 11, just randomly, just opening up and looking at what Arnold was doing, because when I thought of muscle, everyone at that time, they just thought of Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
Yeah.
So I bought that book and started designing myself and a couple friends of mine training programs, and we would go to the local YMCA. It was 7 days a week at that time, because that's all we had to do, right? And I just lifted weights, and I got bigger like fast, right? Because starting to come out of my arms, I'm starting to grow this way a little bit, and I got addicted to that, right? And what did that turn into? That turned into 10 or 15 more home runs a year in Little League, right? What did that turn into? That turned into me being bigger, stronger, and faster on the football field, as I finished middle school and got into high school. So that's where I was introduced to fitness, and I became addicted to the results that I was getting. So let's fast forward through high school, university, played football, was always was always under the wing of my strength and conditioning coach, because I thought that's what I wanted to do when I got out of university. He was a very, very good friend of Charles Poliquin. So that's where I got introduced to Charles. Went down to Rhode Island for a little bit, did an internship with him, and started to learn his methodologies, went through PICP, finished university, did the CSCS thing. And I was told by Charles to not go into the university style strength conditioning world because it's dog eat dog and you don't control your, right? Because I wanted to be a strength conditioning coach for, a high level football team, like a, University of Florida or something like that. That I thought that was my dream. 6-6, you're going to get fired, even if your guys are strong as hell and you're doing your job properly. Then I'm like, good point. I don't want to do that. So finished university, played a little bit of professional football, and had to decide. Wasn't good enough to make that like a long lasting career by any means, but had to decide what I was going to do next. And I always wanted to be a Navy SEAL. I don't know why. I just wanted to do it. Right.
Yeah.
I have no background in my family of anyone ever. One of the first people in my family to graduate high school, let alone university, and then go to the military. So went to the Navy recruiter to see if I can get into BUDS and how long that process would take to get into their officer program. And he told me it'd be about 12 to 18 months. And I was really impatient at that time as a 22, 23-year-old kid. And I'm like, that's way too fucking long. So I went next door, went to the Army recruiter and was like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to be in combat medicine. I want to jump out of airplanes. I want to do the whole special operations thing. And he's like, oh yeah, we could have you shipped off in about 30 days. And I was like, yes, that sounds good. So, fast this time, continued the fitness journey, owned a couple CrossFit gyms during that time, competed in CrossFit, competed in weightlifting, competed in powerlifting, competed in bodybuilding. I was always competing in something to try to fill that void of leaving football. And I was marginally successful at all of that. Coached throughout that time, going back to university days and, being a personal trainer for years and years and years. And that led into the Army world. And, I ran our battalion strength conditioning programs for 6 years. And I was always like the go-to guy of fitness, right? So lived in Alaska for a couple of years, did a couple tours in Afghanistan. My wife and my son and I moved to South Carolina to teach medicine at Fort Jackson in Columbia, South Carolina. And there we members who were doing awesome, right? And then this guy kept coming into the back of my mind. He used to talk about this crazy dude, James, that was doing all of these different things and what he called, I didn't even think Charles called it functional fitness at the time. He probably made fun of it, but he's like, yeah, James is the guy in that world. So I took CCP like in 2013, I believe it was, got through that program. That kind of reshaped my program design and coaching brain a little bit. And then 2016, I sold my CrossFit gyms and went all in on OPEX and had 3 OPEX gyms. Worked really close with our ex-CEO, Jim Kroll, just a great mentor of mine, worked really closely with James, and eventually found myself here about 3 years ago, over the last 7 days that now, I'm now sitting in the CEO role here at OPEX. So things happen very, I know I called it the 60-second version, but let's call that the 5-minute version of kind of my life and how I am where I am right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And quite a broad sort of spectrum of different styles and different environments of learning and coaching in. And it's interesting that you say about the strength conditioning side of things, because I know when because I originally started off playing rugby, and that's how I got into training and that sort of stuff. And in my head, I thought, well, if I enjoy playing rugby, I'm just going to be in a rugby environment and I want to be a strength conditioning coach for rugby teams. But exactly like you say, after doing a couple of interns and actually realising that environment, that even if they're fast and they're strong but they're not winning games, that doesn't show any relevance on you. So going more into the general population and the powerlifting and that side of thing has been quite interesting. One of the first questions I kind of wanted to ask is with having a mentor such as Charles Poliquin, being involved in CrossFit, obviously the fitness and strength conditioning that you did within the military, what sort of lessons have you learned from those different coaching environments to sort of where you are now, and what are sort of the biggest differences that you found sort of throughout that coaching journey, if you like?
Gosh, man, that's such a good question, and I'll be simplistic and reductionist in a sense, and I'll just put it all back to, have a set of rules that you live by, right? And that's, we would call those principles here at OPEX, right? So have a set of rules that you live by, but not only when it people, how you design training programs, but just how you treat other people, right? What kind of, brother do you want to be? What kind of father do you want to be? What kind of husband do you want to be? Wherever you sit relative to your relationships with other people, how do you want them to perceive you? And to me, in my brain, that always comes back to just having a set of rules or principles that is your, let's call it your go-to when you find yourself in a difficult situation. So throughout all of my time with, under, those giants, right, of Charles and James and my college strength conditioning coach, Danny Laramie, and, probably the greatest mentor of my life, my wide receivers coach in university, Anthony Williams. Those guys have always had a solid set of principles that they lived by, right? And some of them it was in sport. Some of them it was just how they treated other people and how they taught me to be a what I would call a good man, right? So, gosh, man, it's just have rules that you live by. We have to have rules that we live by.
And throughout sort of your coaching and training career, have those rules changed? Has your style of coaching changed? Because I know, so down at the gym that I work at, obviously we have an internship program, and coaches come in, and I sort of think back to when I first started out, and I want to tell everyone exactly what we've been doing, and I want to get your hands in everything. But exactly like what you've mentioned there, the more you progress and probably the more experience you get, you sort of refine those principles and those rules and those guidelines. How have you found it? Has your, especially working with all these different coaches, have you sort of refined those guidelines and rules and principles that you've built up over time?
Yeah, definitely. I would consider myself a fast learner but slow implementer. And what I mean by Stephen, I'm not in a rush to put it into play or put it into practice. So for example, really, really well. Let's talk periodization, right? And understanding, the fine line of volume and intensity, right? Like, let's say I in my brain, I really understand how to give people the appropriate dose to get results, right? And that's like my thing. I'm going to lean on that until it doesn't work anymore. I may have just learned something new in, a weekend summit or a conversation with someone or a new course that I took, but I'm not in a rush to implement that stuff because I'm a firm believer of, understand what know what, use the shit out of what until it doesn't work anymore. And that's what I'd really try to drive home to coaches that I talk to on a daily basis. It's like, get rid of all the noise, right? Get rid of, the things that you're saying about glute bridges, and get rid of the things that you're saying about, have this kettlebell in a front rack and do this cartwheel thing and use this band. It's like, that shit's all cool, right? And it may have its place, but if you don't understand why you're using it, don't use it, right? And that's not me saying, don't learn anything new and don't implement anything new. I'm not saying that by any means, but if we use too many things, or if there's too many cooks in the kitchen, we're never going to come out with the result that we want. So to answer your question, it's like, how have I evolved over the past, 15 years since I've been in this coaching game? It's like, I'm good at pivoting, right? Like if I know that I'm doing something that's not working, I try to dig and find the answers, and I'm really honest with myself, and I'm really honest with the clients that I've coached, and I'm just we wanted. my hypothesis is this, right? This is why we didn't get it, and this is how I'm going to pivot and try to get you to where we want to be. So gosh, I'd be lying if I was saying 10 years ago were dog shit compared to what they are today from my perception, right? But it's like, that's okay. Like, that was learning. I look at old Google Sheets that I gave clients a decade ago, and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking, right? But in my head at that time, I thought I was giving them the best I was giving them the best program that I could give them. But that's why it's so important to look back on those things and reflect and learn from your mistakes. And I'm sure in 10 years, I'll look at something I gave a client yesterday and be like, what the hell was I doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That saying is, hindsight's 2020, and that's why you can look back at those old programs and what you've done before, and exactly like what you've said, learn from it, and that's part of the reason why I set up the podcast, because if clients ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I want to find out and get the best information so I can give them the best answer. Because ultimately, as a coach, you're providing a service to those clients to help them get to where they want to be. In terms of sort of from the coaches that you work with and sort of teach, do you think that's where sometimes some coaches go wrong, that they're too fixated on one thing, or they try and do too many things at once rather than trying to focus in, get something right, and then add things in when they need to?
Yeah, man, I think where, and I would even say it's where coaches go wrong, but the biggest, let's call it, discrepancy that I see in coaches is that they're not confident, right? I mean, and it's tough, right? Because it's like, we're always judging ourselves against who we see on social media. We're always judging ourselves against, a coach that our client used to have. We're always judging ourselves against so many external pieces, and we spend too much time there, right? So I think where a lot of coaches fall short in their practices is just not having confidence in what they're doing. Because if I'm coaching you, Stephen, and we're on a consultation right now, and I'm like, I have like this, you ask me a question about your program, and I'm like, I say I know what I'm doing, but I look a little uncertain. You're going to sniff that out very quickly, and you're going to lose trust in me, right? And there's a big difference between confidence and cockiness. I'm not saying that we should be cocky. We just have to be really confident in not hurting people. And as long as we're following a certain set of rules or principles, usually we're okay, right? So we have to be really comfortable and confident in that, because anyone can sniff out if you're insecure.
Yeah, absolutely. And what sort of just sparked in my mind there is a little bit of maybe a little bit of a tangent, but what I'm really interested is the strength training side of things. So powerlifting, strongman, generic strength training. However, I'm not a weightlifter, and I'm quite happy to tell people, I can get you strong in, squatting and deadlifting, and we can do some strongman exercises or some general strength work. But I'm not going to be able to coach you how to do a snatch or a clean and jerk, because that's not my area of expertise. Do you think that that from a client's point of view, looking at a coach, that actually that should fill them with confidence a little bit more with that coach, because obviously they're wanting to play towards those strengths, whereas I know we mentioned it a little bit earlier on in the chat that when you're first starting out as a coach, you kind of want to have a hand in everything and give everything a go. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I think I think as fitness professionals, coaches, we have to understand that what we give clients has carryover, right? So, I think you could still make someone stronger in the clean and jerk and snatch using your classic strength training principles, right? I think that it shows a bit of empathy, and it shows I'm not the greatest technician when it comes to snatching, clean and jerk, but I'm so good at making people stronger that I can get you stronger. If that's your limiter is your strength, I can get you there. But I do think that we all have to have that level of honesty and understand, kind of going back to what I said, it's like you have to know what you know and you have to know what you don't know, right? Like you right now, you know that you don't know weightlifting very well, right? But it's like, I guarantee you can, work with a couple clients over a period of time and kind of reverse that and be really confident and understanding biomechanics of the snatch, biomechanics of the clean and jerk, understanding carryover of high bar back squat to, just little nuanced things like that. But I think that's important for us as coaches to know what we know and know what we don't know and be honest with our clients or potential clients about those things.
I think that's an interesting topic as well, because like what you mentioned there about, potentially later down the line, developing a base knowledge of weightlifting or anything like that. I think, from a coach's point of view, you've got an unlimited amount of time to be able to learn something new. So, for example, it might be nutrition. If you don't know much about nutrition, you can. There's always time to go and learn a little bit more. Learn about weightlifting, rather than on the flip side of it, not being able to. Yes, still have your core strengths of what you know, but there is always that potential to learn and develop, I would say. That continued professional development, if you like. One thing that I wanted to touch on as well, and you touched on it there, in terms of being professional as a coach or a personal trainer working in a gym. And the first question is, where do you think, from where 10, 15 to 15 years ago, where coaching was and to where it is now, do you think that the coaching industry and personal training has become a lot more professional and is being recognised as an actual profession? And how do you think sort of the whole COVID situation may potentially have affected that?
Gosh, yeah, that's a deep one, and that's what we want. That's what we're trying to do as a company, right? At OPEX, we're pushing to professionalize the coach. We're pushing to professionalize the trainer. In our language, professionalizing means that it's something that they go into it with really, really aligned and good intentions, right? So in our language, good intentions isn't making, I'm going into this thing to make 6 figures minimum, right? It's like that may happen as a byproduct of the product and the service that you're offering your clients, but that's not aligned in good intentions. It's like, to us, good intentions are, I want to impact, right? I want to impact people's lives in a positive way through fitness, right? And I want to get paid really well for that. And I don't want to have to drive an Uber on the weekends, and I don't have to deliver pizzas on the weekends, or I don't have to answer phone calls for this company down the road, from 9 to 5 and then coach in the evening, right? That's professionalizing this industry. And gosh, there's been thousands and thousands of trainers and coaches that have proven that it can be done, right? Even in our ecosystem, we have coaches, in our remote coaching program that make a lot of money, and they're really good coaches, and they can do this thing. So is it possible to professionalize it? Yes, it's already being done. But let's talk about, since COVID hit, and how the fitness industry is seen differently. I actually don't think it's seen that much differently today. I think it's going to take a lot of time for the general population to actually look at this thing through a different lens. And it's our jobs to tell them the lens that they should be looking through, right? So what do we push at OPEX? We push health, we push vitality, we push alignment. If you go into our program and you look in what's inside of our program, science and the technical aspect of it, of CCP, is like this small, right? We understand that it's very, very important, but that's not where we're trying to make our mark in this thing. We're trying to make our mark in this thing by teaching coaches a sustainable methodology to coach for the rest of their lives and get their clients, no matter who that client is, great results. That's it. So there's definitely companies that do the science aspect way better than we do. And it's not because we're incapable of it. We just don't put our time and effort into that. Everything, remember what we said at the beginning, everything that we do and everything that we teach is based on a cornerstone of truths and principles. Everything we put out is based on a cornerstone of truths and principles in our perspective. Some of those truths and principles are through empirical data and us working with thousands and thousands and thousands of people over the past 20 plus years. And some of those things can be found, most of those things can be found in literature. But we're not the group that's going to say, look at the science, look at the science, look at the science, because the science most times is behind, right? If we were to take the look at the science approach with COVID, we'd be spinning our wheels because there is no science. No one knows the truth. No one knows what's going on. We have to actually practice with clients what works, what doesn't work, what does health mean, how do we increase health, and what's a biomarker of health, right? So gosh, I don't think that there's been a massive shift, and I don't think there will be a massive shift with COVID in terms of general population. Will there be a shift in how people want to receive their fitness? Absolutely, because right now, a lot of people here in Arizona, they're not going into gyms anymore. We're closed back down, right? So it's like now we have to exercise at home, right? Or we have to go to a friend's house and exercise. Now it's like, what kind of exercise am I doing as a soccer mom or dad, and I know nothing about fitness? It's like, maybe I should get a coach, right? So I think the way that the general population is going to receive fitness over the next X amount of years is going to shift, but I don't think the way that they look at coaches and trainers is going to shift in that amount of time.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good explanation, actually, and I completely agree, because I know being in a small strength conditioning facility, if you like, a small gym, and looking at some of the big box gyms where people would just potentially go in, do their own thing, go on a couple of machines, maybe do a little bit of free weights and then go home. Actually having that contact with a coach, whether it's over a Zoom call or a phone call, and actually speaking about, look, because I always think of it as problem solving, right? So what can we do? What can we work with? And sometimes for a lot of my clients, and you sort of touched on it there, instead of the science side of things, actually developing a coaching system that they're going to be able to use for the career. A lot of it is just being able to, the language that you use with coaches, and setting good habits. And because one of the biggest things that I found, and I'm not sure whether you've been in the same position with some of your clients, is that motivation has just been going up and down, with lockdown and gyms not opening, and using the art of coaching, if you like, to try and get the best out of the clients. Just following on from that, because obviously you mentioned, there's a small part of the science and the literature that you need to know, which is important, but we've also mentioned that, as a coach, you can develop that in the background anyway and still keep learning. Do you think sometimes when it comes to professionalism in coaching, that people think you have to go too science in one way, rather than actually thinking professionalism is how you speak to clients, how you interact with them, and the things in the background, and not necessarily knowing all of the science and knowing all of the biomechanics and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think there's a balance there, because we can know everything in the world, but if we don't know how to convey those things to our clients, and we can't speak at our client's level, compliance on our client side is going to be extremely low, right? And if compliance is low, we're not going to get results. And if we don't get results, we're not going to retain clients. If we don't retain clients, we're not going to make money, right? So I don't want to make it that simple, but I do think that there is a balance. And in my eyes, and the way that I view this thing, I do think that the base science knowledge has to be there to an extent. But what you said, you termed it the art of coaching. I think that's a little bit more important, right? Because science isn't going to, or understanding, physiology at a very, very deep level is not going to make, 38-year-old Susie exercise 4 out of 4 days that you're giving her that training program, if that makes sense, right? It's like the conversation that you have with Susie, the connection that you have with Susie, the trust that you build with Susie, and you're giving her some pretty good prescriptions and exercise, Susie's going to get a lot better. She's going to get better quickly, and she's going to hold on to that sustainably. Whereas if I was, just talking about physiology with Susie, and I'm telling her, biomechanically, this is what we need to do to improve your squat, I probably lost her sentence 1, and maybe she's exercising 2 out of 4 days because she's not actually connected to the prescription that we're giving her. And now Susie's not going to see results like she would have seen if she exercised 4 days a week. And that's everything being equal. Like, we're giving the same program, it's based on great principles, but Coach A is just so heavily science-based that he wants to prove to Susie that he's smart. Where Coach B is like, I don't really give a shit. I know what I'm talking about. I'm confident about that. I want to connect you to this thing. Susie's going to love him more. She's going to trust him more, and she's going to do his program, and she's going to get better.
Yeah, absolutely, because it is that thought process of I always get the saying mixed up, but if you follow a bad program, I think this is the right saying. If you follow a bad program, but follow it down to the T and you adhere to it, you're going to get some form of results. Whereas if you've got a really good program with everything down to the right percentages and everything, but you don't follow it, you don't adhere to it, you're not going to achieve anything and get anywhere. And that's where sometimes it is exactly like what we've touched on. It is going to be down to how you're speaking to the person. What are your thoughts on, because obviously having worked with different coaches within the gym, every person has their own personality, and sometimes the coaching is obviously working with people, and some people just might not click. What are your thoughts on do coaches tend to attract a certain type of client, or as a coach can you swap and change depending on the environment or the person that you're training with? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so to me, that's a target market conversation. And what I tell coaches when we talk about the business of fitness is that you can't really decide your target market. Your target market decides you, right? So let's say that you're working with 15 clients, and let's say 8 of those clients are seeing great results. They're over 90% compliant. You love working with them. They love working with you. I would look at those 8 clients and break down the demographics of those clients. Are they male? Are they female? What age range do they sit in? What are their goals? Why do they come to you? What kind of fitness are you giving them? And if you love working with them and they love working with you, that's your target market. Lean into that, right? Because I've talked to so many coaches where they're like, I love working with competitive athletes. Like, I love it. That's my target market. You look at their book of clients, they have 50 clients and 2 of them are high level competitive athletes. And one of them has 0 connection to them. They don't really enjoy designing their 3 sessions per day, 5 days a week, because it takes them an hour and a half. They don't see the value in coaching that person, and they're coaching this other person that's paying the same amount of money. They're only exercising 3 days a week. It takes them 7.5 minutes to do a week of programming plus communication with that client. It's like, who's your target market truly, right? So I would look at, if a coach is coaching people currently, look at your book of clients and just see what stands out there. And gosh, I've done that practice so many times in the past, where I looked at when I had a lot of clients and I'm like, who do I really enjoy working with? And it's surprising because you think that you enjoy working with a certain person or a certain demographic. And when you actually look at it and you break it down, it's usually a little bit different. And to me, I thought I loved working with competitive athletes. I thought I loved working with, athletes that were preparing for sport, for fitness, whatever the case may have been. And it was like, man, I actually just really enjoy working with, 40 to 50-year-old women that are really excited about coming into the gym and love talking about fitness in our consultations. And it was like, yeah, obviously I love working with those people. I have 40 of them and the other 25 are, what I thought would be my target market, but I don't actually enjoy coaching them as much as I enjoy coaching that other demographic. So I would just take a critical look at that and question yourself, right? Question everything.
Absolutely, because and it's the same when clients ask me questions. I like people asking questions about programming or asking reasons why behind, because on a real selfish note, it keeps me on my toes. It keeps me keeps things fresh and interesting, rather than people just accepting that what I'm doing is right. And a common theme throughout this chat has been you can learn, and yes, you'll know your base, but you can develop other areas. And in terms of the client base, because actually what was going through my head then. So obviously, from playing rugby to competing in powerlifting, powerlifting is the sport that I compete in now. So obviously, in my head, I want everyone to do powerlifting. Everyone who wants to come and work with me, it's kind of there's that saying that as a coach, you want to give your clients everything that you do. But actually, in the grand scheme of things, I've got a small core group of powerlifters, but the rest of the group of clients that I work with, whether it be in person or online, are just general strength. They just want to lay good habits. They want to get fitter. They want to get stronger. So is it a case of that some coaches, that it's not a case of, yes, you can have a passion for one area of fitness, but my clientele, the majority of people that I'm working with, they want to get stronger, they enjoy strength training, but they also want to build healthy habits. But my passion, and what I enjoy as a hobby, if you like, is coaching people in the powerlifting, because I can take them to competitions. Do you think that's where sometimes coaches try to struggle to find the balance, and think that the thing that they're competing and enjoying needs to overshadow everything else, if that kind of makes sense?
It does, yeah. I think to an extent, we have to lean into what fires us up. We have to lean into what we know that we're really good at, right? So it's like, as an example, I'm sure that you coach people that aren't in powerlifting, but because of your knowledge in the sport and how confident you are in getting people stronger, those biases go into those clients' training programs and they get great results, right? So it's like, I don't think we can ignore our biases. We just have to not let those biases be detrimental to our coaching practice, right? So it's like, I'm extremely biased in slow, controlled contractions and aerobic work. I'm very biased in that, right? And if you look at like if I shared my screen right now and you looked at my True Coach, you'd be like, yeah, that is your bias, because a lot of your clients do a decent amount of aerobic work, and a lot of your clients do a decent amount of bodybuilding, no matter who they are. And that they can be a weightlifter, they can be a power lifter, they can be a CrossFitter, they can be general population. It's like, you're going to most likely see those things in my clients' training programs. And that's my bias. And I'm honest with my clients. I'm like, hey, I'm heavily biased in this, but I have a reason why I'm heavily biased in it. And this is how my bias can be used to your advantage to get you closer to your goals. So if we're talking about aesthetics, it's like, that's a very easy conversation. I could talk to someone all day about how slow, controlled resistance training and a good amount of slow aerobic work can make them more aesthetically pleasing, right? Or if I'm talking to a CrossFitter, I can talk to them about how those principles can make them a better CrossFitter. But everything has a time and place, right? So if I'm trying to use my biases of bodybuilding and aerobic work in a pre-competitive phase for a CrossFitter, I'm letting my biases be detrimental to their training program and their goals, right? So we have to understand our biases, where we can use them to our advantage, and when we have to take a step back and say, okay, I'm biased in powerlifting, but we're in an accumulation phase with this client, and their nervous system is just jacked up from X amount of months of intense fitness. Maybe I should take a step back, right? So I think we just have to balance it, like you were saying, and understand when we should use it and when we shouldn't use it.
Absolutely. And with the because just touching on the powerlifting side of things, there's a lot of clients that yes, I'd love to have a powerlifting program and have everyone squatting, benching and deadlifting, but when you're just looking at the movement patterns that people should do, sometimes I've had people that have never done a conventional deadlift or a sumo deadlift. They're just using a trap bar, or instead of bench they're doing a push press, or whatever it may be, because obviously the principles or the systems that you've got in place will allow you to cater for different people. And is that something that, in terms of the programming side of things and how you're actually delivering content to your clients, it's important to have those systems rather than just having one template and trying to throw that out to everybody, rather than just having a system of thinking, right, well, actually I can rotate this round, I can move this depending on the different clients. How important do you think that is, and do you think that's something that a lot more coaches are starting to do?
Gosh, man, that's our whole business, right? It's like, that's very important, right? It's like, a lot of people in the fitness world see OPEX and us as assholes. Like we think we know it all. Everything that we give our coaches and clients are just, we think it's better. The whole nine. Like, I don't know how we got that, but we got that. That's how people see us in this world. And to some extent, that's right. You know what I mean? It's like, we do think that what we do is the best. We think that we have the best system of delivering individualized, personalized fitness. But where people get it wrong is, we don't think that A, our shit doesn't stink, and B, that we're giving like a gold nugget in program design and all of this stuff. It's like, you can find our stuff anywhere. If you're subscribed to our list, we give our coaches that aren't even a part of our system so much free shit, right? Because it's like, that's not where the competitive advantage for us comes into play. The competitive advantage for us is going through CCP, understanding our methodology as a whole to make your job as a coach easier. That's our goal, to make our coaches' jobs easier. We don't think that we know it all. We don't think that we have this gold nugget of knowledge. We're just really good at making our knowledge digestible and allowing our coaches to implement it with their clients in an easy, efficient, sustainable, and essentially a way that will get them to a point where they can actually make a career out of this thing. So one size doesn't fit all. I mean, if you know OPEX, that's what we say over and over and over again. And we think that everyone deserves their own program. But I don't want people listening to this to think that the barrier of entry is this. It's not. The barrier of entry to OPEX is this. We take anyone, and we'll take a coach off the street out of high school, right? And we're like, you know nothing, right? We're confident that if you go through our program in X amount of months, you'll be coaching people very effectively and very efficiently. And then with time, as you coach people, you're going to become a better coach, because you need to be in the trenches for an amount of time. You need to coach a lot of people. You need to see things to understand those principles that we really taught you. But we want you to come out of this thing being able to give people good program designs. And we don't think a good program design is a complex program design. We think a good program design is a program design that is based on principles, right? So a good program design can be 3 days a week, A, B, C, out, right? Very good conversations on a monthly basis, very good alignment, and that client stays with you for 5 years. That's fun. That's gold. That's excellent, right? Good program design for us isn't the 6 days a week, AM, noon, PM, AM, PM, you know what I mean? It's like a bunch of complexities inside of it. Yeah, some clients are going to need that, but that's not what we call good program design. Good program design is something that makes sense, right? So, we get a lot of coaches that come through our program that lack confidence, and they see whether it's a coach that has taken CCP, whether it's one of us that put something out on social media, they see something and they're like, that looks so complex, I can't wrap my brain around it. I'll never be able to do that. And it's like, don't get caught up in that noise. Don't do it, right? And we have immersions on a quarterly basis. Hopefully we'll be able to resume those soon after COVID. But we get a number of coaches, about 55 coaches, that come in, and for a portion of that weekend, we practice program design. And those coaches are always blown away with the simplicity that we want to see. Like, we're not impressed by you doing a bunch of muscle ups and snatches and shit like that, because 99.999% of people don't need that shit, right? It's like, I want to see your program of some bending, some squatting, some pushing, some core activity, maybe some aerobic work, a good amount of rest and recovery, do that again, a good amount of rest and recovery, do that again, and see results for a very long period of time. Sorry, that was a little bit of a rant, but yeah, I think I don't even know if I answered your question, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's kind of come full circle, really, because people will want to make it really, really complex, but actually, exactly like what you said, sometimes keeping it simple, doing some basic movement patterns and not making it overly complicated, is what you need as a coach, to have those clients there. Because from a business point of view, you want clients. It's much easier to keep the clients that are going to stay with you than they're continually looking for different coaches. And I know a lot of episodes, I've spoken about powerlifting or strongman or the ins and outs of programming and deloads and all that sort of stuff. But that information is readily available, and coaches can learn that a little bit more. But I kind of wanted to have a little bit of a different take on it and chat to yourself about about how to be a professional, how to actually come across as a coach and have that trust. Because I think sometimes, especially for maybe some coaches that are just starting out, I think they're unsure as to which direction or what professionalism actually means as a coach. And exactly like what you've said, which is even reassuring for me as well, that it doesn't have to be really, really complicated. There's not a load of hoops that you have to go through, or some special handshake, and then all of a sudden you're in this professional group. So yeah, I thought that was a really good explanation. So the last question, really, and I know there was a couple of good points that you finished on there, is from everything that we've chatted about today, and for everyone listening, what would be your take-home points or words of wisdom?
Oh man, I'll be simple again, and I'll just go back to assess yourself as a coach, or just assess even if you're not a coach and you're into this fitness thing, assess yourself. Where do you sit? What do you want? And what are your rules? Right? Like, I think everyone needs to take a step back and think about what their rules are that they live by. For some people, that's having a set of ethics, or for some people that's it's based on their philosophy. For some people, it's the religion that they follow very, very closely, right? It's like we're built as a society to have a set of rules that we live by. It's like, I wouldn't blindly follow someone else's set of rules. I would self-assess and understand what kind of person you want to be, and based on what kind of person you want to be, reverse engineer that and come up with a set of rules or principles for yourself to live by. And like I said before, that can be in life or that can be in fitness.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that helps. That's a really good point to finish on. And I think it helps keep people with some direction. And if they are feeling lost or they're struggling, you can look back at them and think, right, actually, what is it I want to get out of that. So thanks a lot, Carl, for jumping on the podcast. Really appreciate you taking the time to jump on, and really enjoyed picking your brains and chatting all things coaching. For everyone listening who might have any questions about what we've chatted about today, or want to have a look at the courses or the content that OPEX provide, where can people find you or get in contact with yourself and OPEX?
Yeah, definitely. If you have any questions based on the conversation that we had today, just shoot me an email, carl@opexfit.com. If you want to look into, what we do as a company here at OPEX, go check out our website at opexfit.com. Check out our Instagram handle. It's @opexfitness. And you can kind of get an insight into, what we do as a company. We'll teach you our set of beliefs and our principles, just in case you're having issues figuring those out for yourselves. Look at our education and see if it's right for you.
Yeah, 100%. If you're going to have a look at the OPEX website, there's loads of free content on there as well as the courses that they run. So 100%. Have a look over the website, because there is a lot of good stuff on there. Thanks a lot, Carl, for taking the time to chat with me. Really, really appreciate it, and really enjoyed chatting with you today. I hope everybody enjoyed that as much as I did, and I will see you all next week.
Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate it, buddy.